All righty, let's take a live look at Ford Field this morning. It's hard to believe, but Lions football actually starting this month in July. The first preseason game is against the Chargers on July 31st. So now we are used to seeing the Detroit Lions take the field here, or maybe the Pontiac Silverdome if you went to a game before 2001. But more than 90 years ago, they actually were not the Lions at all. They were the Portsmouth Spartans, and they played in Ohio. Take a look at this picture here. This the Spartans back in 1932 when they did the unprecedented and beat the mighty Green Bay Packers. They were part of the very first ever NFL playoff game against the Chicago Bears. Now, flash forward to June 30th, 1934. The Spartans were bought by George Richards. Richards moved them out of Ohio and to Detroit and then gave them a new name, the Detroit Lions. The purchase price, less than $8,000. In today's money, that's less than $195,000, which still isn't that much. Last year, Jason Colthorpe traveled to Ohio, to the city still that has great pride for that team and a kinship with the Lions of today.
You don't have to be a Lions fan to be a little awestruck as you walk into Spartan Municipal Stadium.
This is where it all started for me.
Gerald Cadigan is the athletics director at Shawnee State University in Portsmouth, which just acquired the stadium.
All the visitors that did not want to pay to come in would watch the game right from the levee.
If he looks like he could play a little football himself, that's because he did, starting on this field in high school, then at Penn State, and in the NFL for a short time. The university plans to revitalize this stadium, a new field, a new track, new opportunities.
Today's kids, do you think they get the sense of history the way you do, that this field goes all the way back to the 1930s? It's like nearly 100 years of history.
I think that's part of my responsibility and why I'm still here in this community, to kind of share that, to show them the old VHS videos of of football games and the history that has been here, and then to create new memories.
It's also not unusual for visitors to show up at this stadium, which is an historical site.
It's been on my to-do list for about 6 months now.
But what are the odds that on this day, a Lions fan from West Virginia would happen by?
No, I saw the original Lion King, Barry Sanders, when I was 7 years old, watching Monday Night Football on a black and white screen in my bedroom. And I fell in love with Barry Sanders, led me to the Detroit Lions.
And many years later,
Come on in.
it led Justin Mooney here to the team's original home.
I'm getting goosebumps. I don't know if you can see that. Look at the history. You can just feel it in the reverb, the reverb off the walls.
We see a lot of Lion sweatshirts come football season.
Portsmouth Mayor Charlotte Gordon is literally walking us down memory lane. Along the flood wall, keeping the Ohio River out, is a mural depicting the city's history, scene by scene. And of course, the football team checks in right around the 1930 mark.
It is part of the fabric, part of the community memory of this town, that it was such an important part of our history that has been carried forth. And it's fun, even kids talk about it.
First of all, amazing story. Second of all, I am so glad that you got the memo that there are no ties allowed in the Nook.
Oh, of course, yeah.
We're just just hanging out over here.
Well, I was in the middle of changing clothes anyway, so I figured, well, I don't have to put my tie in for a minute.
Don't go in the green room.
Nick's not wearing one.
All right, so let's talk more about this. First of all, I was kind of taken aback because I saw the shot that said Notre Dame on there.
Yeah.
And before I even saw that, I was kind of looking at some of the concrete there and how the stadium was built. And I was thinking, this seems like a lot like Notre Dame, just the way it's kind of laid out a little bit.
And just the history of it. Not Notre Dame, the college. There's a high school there, Notre Dame High School. I forget the official name of it, but they play their football games there now on Friday nights.
Okay.
So that's why you see Notre Dame on there. And then, of course, it's called Spartan Stadium. So there's all sorts of signals throwing you for a loop. But they were original, the Portsmouth Spartans. So that trip was just fun. I remember when the idea came about in our newsroom, Chuck Jackson this was a year prior to that, saying, you know, we should go down there to the birthplace of the Lions. And we weren't able to go the first year. And we just kept it on the notebook, top of the notebook, like we got to do this next year, and made the drive down there. And it was just to find out that the town, even though the Lions have been gone for 100 years, they're like, yeah, we still we connect with the Lions. They also connect with their Ohio teams
Sure,
too. But
sure.
they also connect with the Lions. I went into a local bar that had all this original Spartans and then Lions memorabilia and things like that. So it was just really neat. And that stadium, that guy wasn't lying. You do get goosebumps because you walk up and down the hall there and they have plaques for all original Lions. And you're like, oh, this guy, I remember this guy. He played for the Lions. So he started here. And these guys, Jim Thorpe played in that stadium, not for the Lions, but in that stadium. It's really cool.
What I wanted to ask you, and you kind of started talking about it there a little bit, is there still is that pride, that sense of connection, even now? Like, people still will go, they're talking about it at the bars, they're talking about it as they walk around?
Yeah, the one of the bars we went into has a lot of the history like up on the wall. Some of the shots we took from it, if you see the shot of where it says the Spartans beat the Packers 19-0, that's from a bar we went to. And then also part of this too, we went to the local college there, Shawnee State, where they have, one of the historians there has all kinds of memorabilia from way back then, and facts about how much you mentioned it as you were leading into the story, just they only paid $8,000 to buy it and move it to Detroit. And then there's the history of, you don't get into where it's, they were green, the uniforms are green down there. And then when they came here, and the owner's wife had, I think it was the wife, they'd come back from Hawaii and she just loved the Hawaii blue that she saw out in Hawaii.
That's how Honolulu blue started?
Yeah. She said, I think you should make the jerseys blue. This Honolulu blue that we saw out there was just so lovely. She liked it. It became Lions colors right there.
That's incredible.
And then I think they went to red for briefly a decade later, and they quickly were like, no, let's go back. Yeah.
Okay, so in Ohio, you've got the Browns and the Bengals. Do they have love for those teams, or are they more Lions fans, especially because we're so amazing now?
Yeah, I know. That's what I said to a lot of people. I'm like, so who do you like more? Because Cincinnati was, I'm trying to remember which one was closer. I think Cincinnati was closest to where they are, but they're kind of in the middle of in between. And they go, no, we love both of our Ohio teams. We show, like, I said, which games, when I went to the bar, what game is on the TV?
Right.
That'll answer the question. And they said, the Lions are always on one of the TVs.
Really?
And I said, all right. But they do, obviously, a lot of people are Browns fans or Bengals fans. Yeah. And I just said, because I think we did this last year, and I thought, my prediction was, just my pie in the sky thinking was, this could be a Lions-Bengals Super Bowl. What are you going to do then? And oh, man, this town's going to go crazy.
Could you feel it when you walked in the stadium?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was just really historical, because you can tell just by you can tell when it's an old stadium, and they've saved it many times where they made sure that it didn't get torn down or turned into something else. And Shawnee State has now bought it. They're going to play their college games there, and they're going to revitalize it and turn it into something where you can
keep that history.
Yeah, they're going to keep the history and do a lot more, replace the track so they can do lots of different things.
And the fact that fan just showed up, incredible.
It's just like, you're on a great story when something out of the blue like that happens. And it just happens to be a guy who became a Lions fan by watching Barry Sanders in a different state back decades ago, and is still a Lions fan. He talked about turning his son into a Lions fan. Yep. And they came up to a game last year. As a matter of fact, I think they went to I forget which game, but they made the trip to come see one of their first games.
Speaking of Sanders, did you see he's just signed that deal with Netflix?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so we have another Barry doc coming?
Yeah.
I'm all day. If they run old
all
highlights,
day, every day,
I'm here.
right? Yeah. All
every
right,
now and then we just go down the rabbit hole on YouTube. Barry Sanders highlights, I'm in.
Hey, by the way, we should point this out. Right now, the Detroit Lions are worth an estimated $5.4 billion.
Yes.
So
pretty good investment.
8,000 versus that.
Pretty good.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Don't leave me hanging.
I'm sorry.
We're in the Nook.
In the Nook. Not for long.